Alright, y'all, Rooster in Tennessee here. Going to do something a little bit different, kind of like a experimental test, I guess you'd say, and for people that are curious about how these things work, because I was curious myself, and I'm far from an expert on them, and I'm far from an expert on mobile applications, but just kind of a topic of discussion, interesting video to do. We've got this Maxwell Technologies 16 volt DC 500 farad super capacitor. Now, just as a comparison, this is an audio capacitor people use with stereo systems and stuff like that. Some people try to use these for CB, but they're not really effective. They're only 2.5 farad. What these things do, each one of them, what they do is they supplement your charging system. This one, not near as well as the one on my left here. Now this Maxwell one, excuse me, I don't carry these. I don't sell them. I am trying to get hooked up with a company to carry these super capacitors because a lot of mobile stuff is getting real popular right now. And you know, I like to have a little bit of everything. I don't keep $100,000 worth of stock in, but I try to keep a variety of different stuff in. So I want to do a video demonstrating one of these. Now, what we've got here, this is an 8-pill straight HG, standard HG2879, brand new. It is for sale. I don't usually stock amps this big, but I was talking, on the phone with Fat Boy the other day, and they had one available. They asked me if I wanted to buy it, and I said, sure, I'll buy it. Somebody will end up wanting it. So Unit N66, going into our little 2-pill 1446, and while we're at it, we'll show what it's doing. I think I've shown before, but just for the sake of the video, we want this to be a pretty thorough test, so I'm not really concerned with how long this video is going to take. I'd love to keep it 10 minutes or less, but we'll see what we can do. So right now we've got the little 1446 amp on high, average power on a 1,000 watt slug, bottom scale. Audio, so what, 95 watts, and then come over here to low, audio, what's that, 60, 70 watts, average power, so 90 watts, 95 on high, 65, 70 on low. Now we'll check peak as well. There's not a big difference in peak. Still looking at the bottom scale. Low power, audio, 190 watts on low. Then come back and go on high. Audio, just over 200. So not a big difference there. Now what we're going to do is pop this 1,000 watt slug out, element if you want to be proper, and we're going to put a 2500 in, because we're going to want to see what this 8-pill will do, and it's going to do more than 1,000. So we've checked our drive levels. That's what we're hitting it with. Little 2-pill here. I'll probably forget by the end of the video what we were hitting it with, but I know 205 on peak, and then what, 185 on low. See, I've already forgot. Now, I'm not set up to test larger transistor amps. I'm not ashamed to say that. Look, I got a 1,500 watt dummy load, a 90 amp power supply, maybe 100 amps if you push it. My circuit back here in the test room, the stock room, test room, I've got like 15 to 20 amps supplying the whole room, and we're running off one of those standard outlets. So look, we're not set up properly to test this, but what I want to show is how much this super capacitor helps. And this is really my first time playing with one of these, but you can kind of imagine running this in a mobile setup, and we've got 90 amps available here hooked up to it, with no load on it or anything else. So you could probably say, I don't know, 140 amp alternator, 135 amp alternator would be about the equivalent. Only difference is in a mobile, you've also got a battery in there too that's going to pad it down a little bit. Now, what's going to happen, and I'm going to demonstrate here, is when we talk, we're going to draw energy, we're going to draw juice off this supercap, and it's going to draw off the power supply too, but it's not going to draw as hard. And it's going to make us be able to get by running a lot more than what we would be able to get by running. I'll just tell you, I hooked this up to this power supply earlier, and it pulled it down to 13 volts, and I couldn't get over 1300 watts out of this amp. Now we're running all this stuff off this super capacitor and this power supply, but about 500 watts average, and you guys will just have to take my word for it, about 500 watts average and about 1300 watts peak is all I could get because I'm starving it for juice. My power supply was dropping down to like 13 volts. It was knocking the crap out of it. I think it was drawing over 90 amps. But we've got our clamp meter here, and I'm going to try to be thorough with this and kind of show you guys how this works. We've got our clamp meter here hooked up to show current draw, our watt meter, and then I'm going to show you how this supercap recharges the kind of amperage that it pulls. Now, it's going to pull harder off this power supply than what it would your charging system in your vehicle, because in your vehicle you've got a battery that's got some reserve energy in it, plus your alternator. Where here we've just got the power supply kind of acting as an alternator, recharging this supercap. That being said, enough rambling on. Let's do the damn thing. Let's start out on low power. Now, my dead key's probably going to be off. I can already tell you. We're not too worried about dead key right now. We're just really doing a test just to see, is it possible to run an 8-pill off of this? Now, one last thing. We're not going to see max power out of 8-pill because, what, we're hitting it with 180 watts? Well, we already know that a 4-pill, I recommend 140 to 150 watts. So we should be hitting this with 300 watts if we want to see max output. But as it is, we've got our little 2-pill driver, 180 watts, 185, 205 on high. So we're working with what we've got. But just know this thing is far more capable of what we're going to show it doing if we had some more drive going in. Okay, enough rambling. Average power first. You know what? Actually, we'll do current draw first. So low power, we're going to check the current draw here. Clamp meter. This is what we're drawing off the supercap. Audio. Audio. 97, 98 amps. And let's go over here to the power supply. Now see, it's still drawing current from the supply because it's recharging this cap right now. It's recharging, it's recharging, it's recharging. Let's do that again and see how hard it yanks on the supply. Audio. So look, not hurting our supply at all. We're not getting voltage drop. We're getting that wonky jump in voltage because it's getting RF in it. But the voltage isn't dropping down on the supply, which tells us supercap is doing what it's supposed to. Doing a real good job. And this thing, I really think like a 120 amp alternator, 100 amp alternator, one of these and a 4-pill would run smooth. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about our 8-pill here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to high. We'll just do this whole current draw. We'll do it all at one time. We'll do low and high. Now remember, we're only changing peak watts by a little bit, but we're changing average power by about 20-25 watts. Peak power is coming from 185 to 205. So let's do it again. Audio, 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 audio. 104 amps. Come over here to our power supply, and look here, it's recharging the supercap. So we're pulling 104 amps off of current off a 90 amp supply because we've got this supercap. Let's do it. Let's see how the supply reacts to it. Audio. See, it's still not pulling as hard off the supply as what it is the supercap, and we're not getting voltage drop. Now, like I said earlier, when I didn't have this supercap in line, my poor power supply over here was dropping down to 13 volts, and man, it was struggling. I mean, you could tell it was giving it all it could. But with the supercap in line, we're making some magic happen. Okay, now we're going to do average output power and peak output power. Let's start out on low, and we'll do average on low. We'll do average on high, and then we'll do average on, or peak on low, and then peak on high. So average output on low, 2500 watt slug. Please forgive my jumbled up mess back here, but this is completely experimental. 2500 watt slug, top scale, low power on the driver. Audio. Call it 600 if you want to. Let's put some dead key in there, because I know if I don't, somebody's going to say something. So let's let this thing recharge a little bit, and we'll put some dead key on this thing. There we go. Then we'll let it recharge back down, because we want the best possible scenario for our 8-pill here. We're already not doing it justice, not driving it enough, and we're kind of got our rigged up charging station here for it, so we want to give it the best possible scenario. Put a little bit of dead key in it and see what it does. 2500 watt slug, top scale, audio. So 5 is 500. We're going a good bit past it. You can call it 650. You can call it 7. That middle hash mark would be 750, being halfway in between 500 and 1000. And we weren't to it yet, but we're going to try to get there. Now what I'm going to do is turn this thing on high. I'm going to back my dead key down, because I don't want to key too much into the box. We'll key it up real quick and get us a decent dead key. And my little driver chattering. Didn't have enough carrier going in it. Okay, there we go. We'll key it about 100 watts or so and see what happens. There we go. See, we let off the key, and power supply is recharging our supercap. And the closer it gets to being recharged, the slower it recharges. I mean, it's probably over 14 volts right there. And since our power supply is at 14.5, it's charging this thing up to 14.5. We could check it with a, if I had my fluke meter over here handy, we could check it. I think it's out of reach over here somewhere, but anyway. Okay, we're on high now. We're checking average power on high. 2500 watt slug once again. Nothing's changed there. Audio. Radio. So we really draw our supercap down a little bit then. I saw when I let off the key, we were 75 amps recharging it, which means it was getting pretty low. But like you saw, you know, sitting there holding the audio into it, 750 watts average. Pretty good. And talking normal, you're not going to, you know, sit there and audio into it. You're going to talk, and it's going to be, you know, it might be drawing so much during some point and then so much during another. You're not going to sit there and hold a steady audio into it, but still pretty good. 750 watts average. Now we're going to go on peak. We're still on high. We're still on the 2500 watt scale. Let's go over here and take a look. 205 watts peak going into the 8-pill. Audio. Audio. 1500 watts. Turn this on low. Audio, 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 audio. Almost 1500 on low. Audio test. 1, 2, 3. Audio. Dead key's too low. I didn't readjust my dead key. Relay's clicking a little bit there. Then we'll just go back to high one more time after it charges back up. Pretty neat. I like the way this is working. Now that doesn't mean you can run an 8-pill on a 90 amp alternator, because obviously it's going to be power and other stuff in the vehicle, you know, whatever, headlights, air conditioner unit, running the vehicle itself, you know, everything like that. But you can imagine that probably, you know, 140, 150 amp alternator is going to give you a chance to run an 8-pill about like this, and may even be a little easier than what we're doing now and do better, because you've got a battery there as well. So you have a battery and an alternator. It'll pad it down a little bit, do a little bit better. High one more time for the video here. Peak power. We'll do it on high one more time. Audio, 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 audio. 1500 watts. So she's getting on down with herself there, doing pretty good. Who knows what's changed in here? My line voltage stuff goes up all up and down all the time. I actually had it hitting about 1600 earlier, but who knows? Anything could have changed. But 750 watts average on high. On low, what we're doing, 650 average, 7 average, something like that. And then 1500 watts peak. And that's with an 8-pill, only driving it with 205 watts max. And then we dropped it down to 185, and it did, what, 1475 or so. Dropped down a little bit. So add another 100 watts to it. What's it going to do? It's probably, with a good charging system, plenty of current going to it, probably 1800 watts, 2000 watts, something like that. That's with about 300 going in. But I really just want to show you guys how kind of cool these things are. You know, if we had a bigger one, who knows? You know, this is just a 500 farad, and I would highly recommend this for like a 4-pill or something. Or if you have a really good charging system and you're running an 8-pill, you know, you're running a 300 amp alternator, 250 amp alternator, 200 amp, something like that, you know, supplement it with one of these, and man, it just makes your system run a lot better. Like I said, admittedly, I'm not an expert on these things, on these supercaps. I'm not an expert on mobile applications. This was more just kind of an experimental video, kind of learning together on these things. But I think they're really cool. I'm going to put one in my truck and probably run a 4-pill on it. And then when I set up a bigger mobile, I'll probably have several of them in there. I think it makes running large transistor amps really easy. Again, take this for what you will. We didn't really get the chance to see max potential out of this thing, but man, for what we're running, you know, we had a 100 amp draw, and seeing 1500 watts peak out of it, 750 watts average, I think that's pretty cotton picking good if you ask me. But that's it, guys. Fat Boy, straight 8. Not driving it hard, but still able to see some decent power out of it. Maxwell 500 farad cap. No, I don't carry those, but working with another company, maybe going to carry some of their products. Just getting some info out there, and just a different video for everybody to watch and hopefully enjoy and maybe learn something together. All right, catch you guys out there. Questions, comments, complaints, let me know. Shoot me a text message, 423-299-3535, Rooster in Tennessee. See you, bye.